Man, so it's been a while since we've actually had ourselves what I'm going to call a chill commentary period. Something where I'm not really focused in on the topic, not really going over some deep, intricate details towards anything, just kind of letting the mind flow, you know? I had myself a pretty good yesterday. I'm recording this the night of Sunday, May 16th. My day today, which is your yesterday, was pretty good. I went out, played some volleyball with the fellas in front of the Olympic Oval. There's a nice little beach area. Not beach area. That sounds really weird. Sand area. Yeah, we played volleyball outside for a few hours, and I actually missed the Canucks game from yesterday, which actually does seem to be a pretty regrettable decision because of how good the game seemed. But either way, let's go over some updates on the Canucks, what the game yesterday means for the team, as well as some other things involving the Detroit Red Wings. So pretty much, long story short, yesterday's Vancouver Canucks game was an absolute doozy. Sure, I did not watch any of it because I was, again, in front of the Olympic Oval doing my thing with the buds, but when I got home, I saw the notifications pop up on my phone and I was like, wow, the Vancouver Canucks actually went out there and performed what I'm going to call is an entertaining game. The problem with the Canucks over the past few weeks, aside from the fact that they have indeed been losing some games, winning some others, was that I just didn't really care about any of the storylines going on anymore because they're already out. They're just kind of in this fight for the bottom six guys trying to establish their spot on the team next year and all that. So when it comes to finishing up the games, because the playoffs are already starting, by the way, there just really isn't too much for this Canucks fan to cheer about when it comes to Canucks games because there are just so many more other important things going on in the hockey world. What's going to go on with Ian Clarke? How's Travis Green doing? What's going on with this Benning controversy? And furthermore, how are the playoffs? Man, when it comes to all these other storylines, they're really captivating my attention, making the actual games themselves not really something that I'm paying too much attention to. But yesterday's game was absolutely crazy because the Vancouver Canucks ended up coming back from a deficit that was 5-1 at one point. Hamonic scored a goal to give them their first one. They were trailing by 3 or 4 or something heading into the third, and then you saw goals from Grayovac, you saw 2 from Boeser, and you saw 1 from Miller too. The last goal to tie everything up was actually scored by Brock Boeser, but we initially thought it was Alex Edler because he took the one-timer from the blue line. Eventually, the conclusion was that it was tipped, but Alex Edler's out there in a position where people thought he almost had his 100th goal of his career. Which is kind of sad to think about it, man. Like, Alex Edler has been one of these guys, literally like the best defenseman in franchise history in terms of the accumulation of games and points. There's nobody above Edler in these statistical categories. You could debate, of course, whether or not he is the most talented defenseman to play on the Canucks roster of all time. That's a different debate. But when it comes to the pure hard numbers, number one in all these things, it's Edler. So he is literally the best guy the franchise has ever seen. It's kind of funny how it's taken him so long to get to this point. He's had 0 goals the entire year. He's at 99 on his career, and he's been at 99 for the longest time now. Edler used to be a guy who you could rely on for 5 to 10 goals in a season. Obviously, Edler now is a lot worse than Edler was in his heyday, but he still is that veteran presence who has been here for a while. 35 years old, drafted in 2004. Honestly, looking at these splits, it's kind of interesting, man. Like, you can really just see the moment where Quinn Hughes took over as the number one defenseman on the team. Because he was at 20, 30 points in his career up until this season where he has 7. And I know it's a result of the team he plays for, but man, he had 33 points last year in 59 games. In 2019, 34 points in 56 games too. Alex Edler, man, it's really difficult to justify signing him back for another contract unless you're just doing it for the sake of keeping this guy as a Vancouver Canuck. Aside from Edler, though, we had another really good performance from yesterday's game. Quinn Hughes, hey, coming out here with 3 assists. He is still up and away the most talented, offensively capable defenseman on the team, and all the stats around that, they're just absolutely crazy. With 3 assists yesterday, Quinn Hughes is now 96th in Canucks all-time points, and he is 26th amongst defensemen. He passed Taylor Pyatt in 97 fewer games and Christian Ehrhoff in 32 fewer games. Remember, Christian Ehrhoff when he joined the Vancouver Canucks, was an absolute monster already. He was on that Sedin power play, and he was one of the prime facilitators of offense in that time frame in the early 2010s. He was crazy good himself, and Quinn Hughes, hey, he's past the guy, so that's pretty good to see. Quinn Hughes yesterday also passed Mattias Ohlund and Alex Edler to tie Jyrki Lumme for the second most career 3-assist games by a defenseman in Canucks franchise history. He's got 6. The most is Dennis Kearns, who has 9 of those kinds of games. So I think it's just a matter of time before Quinn Hughes eventually passes Kearns. Let's face it, it's probably going to happen next season if Quinn Hughes continues being Quinn Hughes. Besser and Pettersson come back in their best forms possible, and the Vancouver Canucks start actually producing more. However, yesterday's game also gave us a different result that I wanted to highlight here as well, because if you take a look at the NHL standings, the Vancouver Canucks end up losing this one in overtime, meaning that they now have themselves 48 points in 54 games played, meaning that they're now technically tied with Columbus and Detroit, and because they had the tiebreaker, they automatically jump below them. Yeah, okay, the Vancouver Canucks end up winning their previous game, which pushes them underneath New Jersey. They overtime lost this yesterday game, which pushes them under Columbus and Detroit. Now the Vancouver Canucks are in a position where they have 2 games left. If they get themselves 1 more point, they will pass San Jose. If the Canucks end up getting 2 more points, hey, they will pass Los Angeles as well. If they end up winning their next 2 games for a total of 52 points on the year, they will end up passing Ottawa. So the worst the Vancouver Canucks can go down here is indeed 9th last, but I guess you could say 10th last because Seattle and their draft lottery odds are going to be thrown in there. As I said in the last video, man, it's the Canucks special. After they get eliminated in the playoffs, that's when they start winning games and starting to tank their draft position. So, yeah, there's another aspect to cheer about, or whine about, I guess. I guess I'm kind of whining about this, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm just going to refer back to the perspective that's like, yeah, Vancouver is winning games now, but the question you have to ask yourself is, why are you able to win now? Where is this effort coming from? Why was this not present previously? Because now the fan base is in a position where if they lose games, you know, there's not really that dreadful feeling anymore. There's a lot more excitement because, wow, okay, there's our draft position being helped out. But with this in mind now, let's go over to the Red Wings side and talk a little bit about what the Red Wings are thinking about this. Because with the Vancouver win yesterday, it solidifies Detroit in their overall standings within the NHL Draft Lottery. Take a look at this right here. With the Canucks gaining a point against the Calgary Flames, the Red Wings will finish 27th overall and have the 6th best Draft Lottery odds. Again, that's technically 5th last in the league, but Seattle is going to be in there. So Detroit right now is right here. Columbus, New Jersey, Seattle, Anaheim, and Buffalo are all on top of them. And with the entire new draft lottery process that's going to go down, where there are only going to be 2 lotteries done for 1st and 2nd overall, I believe the worst the Red Wings can pick is 8th overall, something like that. They can go from 6 to 8, 6 to 7, 6 to 6, or 6 to 1st or 2nd. Yeah, it's kind of difficult, but the Red Wings can only pick 1, 2, 6, 7, or 8. That's kind of what I'm thinking. If it's wrong, then hey, correct me in the comments. But either or for the Red Wings, they're in a spot now where they honestly do have a pretty good foundation of where they're going to pick here. And as I've said before, the gap this year between number 3 and number 8 is a lot different than the gap last year from, let's say, Tim Stützle to 8th overall, that territory of Jack Quinn or Holtz or whatever. It's not the same this year. This year you have a whole bunch of guys that could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or even 10, depending on who it is you're asking. So for the Red Wings, getting that solidification of 6, 7, 8, 1, or 2 really does seem like an extra little blessing in the minds of Red Wings fans. Obviously, the biggest thing that you would want, I would guess, would maybe to get the 1st or the 2nd overall pick and then trading down to acquire more assets, especially if you don't really care too much about who you pick anyway, because, let's face it, there are so many different variables in this year's draft. So for the Vancouver Canucks ultimately getting a point here against Calgary, it ultimately kind of worsens their draft lottery odds, but hey, at the very least, you guys got yourselves an entertaining game. Alex Edler, man, that guy needs to get to 100 soon. I really want to see him get that 100 goal this year, man. They started playing him on the power play again. They're really going to go for it this time. I honestly kind of feel a little bit bad because now Quinn Hughes and Nate Schmidt, of all people, have taken over Edler and his power play responsibility, but at the end of the day, you know, you watch Edler this year compared to what he was doing the previous years, and you're like, yeah, I can totally understand why he's not in that position to be a number 1 power play quarterback, or a number 2 power play quarterback even nowadays. So Edler, hopefully he gets himself another goal in the next few games. They've got 2 left, so it is possible. Canucks fans, what did you think about yesterday's game? Red Wings fans, what do you think about your draft lottery odds? I know this was mostly a Canuck video, but hey, I'm pretty sure we might have had a few people sticking around here for this one. Not going to do a comment section keyword because we already made this video established for both Red Wings and Canucks fans. Talk to me in the comments, though, what you think. Hope you enjoyed this video. Rosen 99. And bye.